So
Yeah.
I'm here with Terrace Crawford, who's over on the East Coast in Virginia, and I'm here in
That's
Orange
right.
County.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a Virginia Tech shirt
Just for me. Yeah.
just for you. And you recently got a book published called Go Social as a guide to help church leaders to use social media, which is a
Yeah.
perfect conversation to have here on the Social Media Church podcast. So
Yeah.
tell us about the book and how you got it published and how it will help church leaders.
Well, I have I've been dabbling in social media, for years now. In fact, I don't remember when I signed on to Facebook, but I know I signed on to Twitter back in 2007. So, I was really kind of ahead of the game. I guess I would say ahead of many ministry leaders. I still meet many people who are not on Twitter, not on Facebook, not even blogging, and it's really interesting to see who is using it these days, and who's using it for personal use and who's using it for ministry. And that's really, I guess, the heart behind this book is, I really felt the need to write a resource and be of a help. So the folks at Beacon Hill felt like that I could be a resource for folks who are in ministry, who are leading the church today, who are not leveraging social media. And so, that's really where the conversation started. It was, how could I be a help to leaders today? And that's really my heartbeat. I want to be a help to leaders. I really want to come alongside the church and folks who work in ministry to try to be a blessing to them, and to see the kingdom advance. That's really what this is about. And really felt like a practical guide is something that was missing from the resources that are out there. If you go to your commonplace bookstore, and I actually did while I was writing this book just to see what else was out there. There's so many books that are just for marketing or branding or this or that, but I really didn't find something that was very practical, especially for ministry use. And so that really kind of nudged me forward in this whole project to really make something available that church leaders could use, people who are doing ministry. And I don't want to use church leaders, even though that's part of the title of the book. It's a practical guide for on social media for church leaders. I don't want to push that too much because I don't want to isolate or alienate anybody who's not in a role, quote unquote, in the church. We are all the church, and we're all ministers. And really, I've talked to people since the book's been released that have not really been using social media very much, and of course they're learning stuff from the book. And I've also talked with folks that have been using and leveraging social media for a long time, and they're learning some stuff. So it's really cool to see how broad of an audience this is beginning to reach. And I'm just happy to be able to have it out there now for people to benefit from.
That's great to hear. Well, let's drill down a little bit more about the publishing process, as well as some of the key questions that you sought to answer and help church leaders and ministry leaders use social media. So, what are the top questions that you hear from ministry leaders that don't yet use social media? What's their hesitation? Because, quote unquote, everybody else is using it. Over 1 billion people are active on Facebook at least once a month,
right.
Yet church leaders are not there. Something's disjointed there. What's the holdup?
Well, I actually do address some of the myths around social media in the book, and just to throw out a couple here, there's some who just feel like that there's too much noise already in their life, and we can relate a lot to that. We can totally understand that. And as you develop a following and as you start talking to people, you can kind of see that. But really, you can kind of curtail a lot of that. You can kind of filter that, and really, customize it in a way that's easy for you. Another is, people think that they they really I'm trying to put the words around this.
It's okay. I will edit this, so it will make you sound
Oh,
really good on the podcast.
Good. And just curious, is this video or audio podcast?
Well, the way I do it is I do a post-production of the audio that makes it real tight.
Yeah.
And I leave the raw audio so that people can see us get a behind the scene, the making of this interview. So they'll get both.
Oh, that's cool.
So the video is the raw, and
Yeah.
then the audio is the nicely produced, and you'll sound great.
Nice. Well, I'm going to go back and reference.
All right. If you want to read us an excerpt as a dramatic reading, that would be wonderful too.
A dramatic reading. Well, I started naming off these myths, and I had a number of them that I chose from, just off my mind, and I don't want to misquote here my own writing.
Oh, you haven't rehearsed your stump speech enough yet.
Actually, nobody's asked me about the myths yet. They've asked me about, how it's growing and, how to use it and things like that. But
Well, I could ask those too.
yeah. I just wanted to reference this here. I'm just starting to get interviews, actually.
Well, this one's going to just take you through the stratosphere.
Oh, nice. Has it been fun? I know you've been doing this for a little while.
It's all for fun.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's not a penny being made from this yet, so
That's great.
I love giving things away, but I've got bills
Now,
to pay.
is this connected with LeadNet, or is this on your own?
It's on my own. It's a labor of love.
Labor of love, nice. Let's see. The Kindle version just came out the other day. Which is really cool.
See, the real diehards will watch the video of this and just laugh.
Oh, like bloopers?
Well, this is very raw, right?
Oh, yeah.
Watching you look up something, and sometimes I'll surf on Ustream, and there's people that just, turn on the webcam and live stream themselves doing mundane little things.
So you put the raw on Ustream?
I actually put it on YouTube because that's the second largest network of it, or second largest.
Do you have extra space?
Yes, YouTube opened it up for me. I can upload one of those 10-hour videos. That's the new trend. Have you seen those?
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, there used to be 3-hour videos, which were loops. Cyan Cat being one of the most popular ones.
Yeah.
And now there's these 10-hour loops, which are just crazy repetitive.
All right, here we go. Yeah, these are the ones I was thinking of.
Okay, read off a few of them, not all of them.
It's really funny how long the process is because, from the time that I submitted the manuscript until its release date, I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at the content very much. So I'm going back and kind of refreshing myself on what I actually put together. All right, do you want to ask the question again, or should I just start where I left off?
Oh, so let's see. How did I ask the question? I said
reasons people are not using it.
Yeah. So part of the as you wrote the book, you were probably going to address. As you wrote the book, you were going to address the top questions that keep people from starting into social media? Because as you mentioned, there's a lot of people that aren't using it yet. So what were some of those top questions, and how did you answer them?
Well, I actually mentioned this in the book, is that there's a lot of reasons actually that people don't use social media, but there's a number of reasons that I do mention in the book that I find are most common among church leaders. One, they're unfamiliar with it. There's even though there's so many people that are using them, millions are using these social media platforms. There's actually so many that it's really foreign to. In fact, even some of the seminars that I've already done on social media, I'll quickly poll the room and I'll say, how many of you guys are using Facebook? How many of you are using Twitter or YouTube or blogging? And it's very interesting how few ministry leaders are using it. So I would say that's one of them, is that they're just unfamiliar with it. And you'll meet people that are kind of learned. They quickly want to learn. They want to learn more. And if you're that kind of leader, then you're growing. But if you're just kind of pushing back, not really interested in learning a whole lot, you're going to have trouble growing and thriving. So I would say one is that they're really unfamiliar with it. Another is that they feel a loss of control. It can really get out of hand. And even though I've been using social media a long time, and yourself this from publishing blogs or a podcast like this, or putting stuff out there, putting content out there, and allowing people the freedom to voice their opinion on your thoughts by commenting or whatever. They can they really feel this they have this sense of their fear. There's a fear there that they're really afraid of what people are going to say. We get attacked enough in ministry, and so I think that is a common myth, and it's something that that we really we have to get beyond, because there's so many people having conversations right now, and the way I present this is that today with media, that's really the front door of the church. Your church website, your organization's website, the platforms you use, that's really the front door. That's where people are going to gather, and they're going to have conversations. But I also make the case in the book and kind of present the picture, because it is true that there are groupings of people, there's tribes of people connecting online already, and that's really where we need to go. We need to go where the people are. I think that case has been made plenty of times in the church world, but taking action and actually doing it is another thing. Another thing is they're too busy. People think it's a complete waste of time. There used to be a joke I would hear all the time when Twitter first started about nobody cares if you're eating a sandwich or making a sandwich. That's kind of got tossed around so many times. But the reality is that people do care. People are really interested in your Instagram picture. People are really interested in your tweet, or people are really interested in your blog post. Particularly if you're meeting them where they are, if you're having conversations that they're already having, or if you're scratching an itch that they have, that's true. And so we got to get past that fear. They're scared of what people will say. I just mentioned a moment ago, we're scared sometimes to put our content out there, and we're afraid that people are gonna voice some concern, or they're gonna give us pushback, or well, it's okay to have that. We got to get past that. We got to be able to have this conversation, and that's one of the ways we grow as leaders, is to be able to have this conversation, to be where the people are, to hear their questions and their concerns. And I mean, think of how much the kingdom can advance just by having these conversations. And the other is too much noise. People, I find that this is a popular reason people don't use social media, is because they already have a lot of noise in their life. Our lives are really already crowded by the work that we do. It's good work, but we have a lot going on. And so, I think that a lot of people, they just refuse any platform, whether it be blogging or YouTube or tweeting or Facebook, whatever the platform is. I think the smart thing is to say, what can I do? What platform can I use? And just say this in the book, is just start somewhere. Start doing something, and whether that be for you, if that just be Twitter, then use Twitter. If for you it's Facebook, then use Facebook. And as you integrate this into your life and your ministry, then you'll be able to maybe add some other platforms as you go.
Oh, that's really good, because you've addressed the fear factor and the ignorance, and then the issue of time and busyness, and how consuming it can certainly easily be. So it does take a measure of discipline to really enter this space. And one of the things I like to say is that social media is not about the technology; it's about people. Right. And so just as you're relating people in person, you also have this incredible opportunity to be relating to people online, and it is about a conversation, and content is a conversational starter. That's great. So describe a bit how you practically walk these church and ministry leaders into using whichever of these social media platforms that you cover, because there's so many. So do you do a hand-holding, step-by-step, click-by-click, or do you give them a framework, or how do you do that? It is
really kind of a step-by-step process, and I tried to. It's really funny. I really thought, okay, who am I going to write this to? Well, the person that really needs the help is someone who's completely unfamiliar with it. Completely, maybe don't even have they don't even have a Facebook, they don't have a Twitter, for whatever reason. So I kind of wrote this resource with them in mind. If they were to need a guide, what steps would they need? And so I tried to start there, and actually, and I don't even know if he knows this, but my stepfather, I actually wrote it with him in mind, because he just got onto Facebook a little while ago. I think it was last year, and really funny story for those that are familiar with Facebook. One day I was visiting my family, and he was on this laptop, and he said, "Hey, I just got on the Facebook. Got onto the Facebook," and he said, he said, "Now, what's this poking? What is poking?" I just started laughing, because it's so funny to me, poking in general. I mean, it's just, it's so pointless. But I'm sorry if I'm offending those that like poking on Facebook, but but he was asking me what that was about, and so I explained it a little bit. And so as I'm writing this manuscript, I'm thinking of him in mind, and what's going to help him, at very entry level. And then I also thought, while I'm writing this, what's some stuff that I could kind of integrate in that folks who have been using it for a little while could learn from. And so I think that it's kind of a healthy marriage of sorts, if you will, as a resource for people that really are, all along the spectrum, whether they're completely unfamiliar with it or whether they've been using it for a long time and they're a veteran. And it's really, as I was telling you, it's really step by step. So, it gives you some step by steps. It gives you some practical application in there. It provides even some strategy for those who have been using it for a while. One of the best reviews that I've gotten on the book comes from a leader out west who said, I was reading your book. We leverage social media in our ministry. And he said, but the cool thing was that I actually put the book down and implemented some of the things that you said in there. And what he's saying there is that he's applying the strategy and, putting it to work for him. And he said it was good changes for their ministry. So that's really cool to hear. And I think that anybody, along that spectrum can benefit from it.
Excellent. Let's talk a little bit about the book itself, and then I want to learn about your particular church context, because you are a church leader yourself.
Yeah.
And so I want to hear how your church is using social media. But how did you get your book published? Because it's hard to get a book published these days, especially in the Christian technology world, where a lot of it is, like you said, is rather theoretical, and they tend to take a cautious perspective on whether we should or shouldn't use social media. So to have a practical guide is awesome. So how were you able to present the book idea, and what was the publisher that you went with, and how have they been helpful?
Well, it's the folks at Beacon Hill out of Kansas City. They have been absolutely wonderful to work with, and I really just I knew a couple of folks that had a relationship with them, and we've been friends for a couple of years. And I've made friends with a lot of people, and truthfully, it's friendships that really started through Twitter and Facebook, and that's really where these connections started. And I'm a network guy. I meet people, all over the world. That's one thing that I love. And these platforms, especially Twitter and Facebook, have well, and blogging as well. Has really just kind of lit my fire. I mean, it's something that has fueled me and fueled my love for networking. So I've built these relationships, and I guess people have gotten to know me and kind of know my heartbeat as a leader. And a couple folks that were affiliated with Beacon Hill knew that, and actually just kind of said one day they would love for me to write a resource of some sort in order to help leaders. And so we really just started kind of putting our heads together about it, and this is the result. This is what came out of it.
Great. So let's talk about how you've marketed the book using both traditional media and social media. When did the book launch, and what kind of things are you doing to help people learn more about the book?
Well, it's really open for discussion as to where it goes from here. I'm really open to having conversations about how to further get the word out, and to be able to help people, kind of figuring it out as I go. This is actually my first published work. I'm very proud of it, but it's actually uncharted territory for me. So it's a learning process and an experience for me. So I have used a lot of traditional means. Of course, I'm using social media to get the word out. I'm encouraging people as they read it to write reviews and to share about the book, how it's benefited them. I really love hearing from people who have not been engaging in social media, or are not a part of any platform, and now are. And those are starting to kind of trickle in. Folks that are writing me saying, "I just signed on Facebook for the first time." That's just really cool to hear, and to be able to hear what they've learned through the book. And so capturing a lot of that. Of course, there's seminars that I'm doing now and things like that. So really, it's really just open for discussion wherever God opens the door for me to be able to share the resource and be able to help people. That's where I'm going to go.
Well, I hope this conversation will help people take a closer look at the book as well.
Yeah.
Our listeners here at Social Media Church Podcast, and would love to hear your feedback for Terrace, how he can share the value of the book with other listeners and church leaders and ministry leaders that want to learn how to use social media, whether to get started or do better what they're doing. Do you want to give a book away on our show?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Awesome. What do they need to do?
How do we pick a winner? I don't know.
Add a comment to this episode.
Okay.
We'll set a deadline, and then they will pick a winner, and you can send them the book. How about that?
That sounds great.
Keep it real simple.
Yeah.
And should they tweet something? Tweet your domain name?
Yeah. Commenting is great. Why don't they, if they would, maybe they could tweet about listening to the podcast and, this particular episode. And then...
what is the domain name for the book?
It's goingsocialbook.net.
Okay. Goingsocialbook.net.
Once they tweet about it, they can go and leave a comment.
Yes.
Right there on the podcast. Does that sound good?
Excellent. Okay, so listeners, you know what to do. We want you to have a copy of this book that Terrace Crawford has put together. Excellent resource for you to get started and do what you're doing better. Now, you are a church leader yourself, so tell us about how you and your church is using social media. Because a lot of time these books and articles that I read, they throw a lot of great ideas out there, and they are great ideas, but if there aren't actually churches doing it,
Right.
that's not really leading by example, and there's something
Yeah.
about church leaders and ministry leaders that are a little bit hesitant to just go out and try an idea when
Yeah.
they haven't seen it work. So I want to
Yeah.
hear what's working in your church.
Well, of course, we're leveraging these different platforms. We love using blogs. Our pastor, I actually got our pastor to start blogging, and he started his blog, and he's really enjoying it. Got him on Twitter, before this resource came out, and that was cool. And I even pulled up his Twitter feed today just to see if he's still tweeting, because I see so many pastors that just stop. They kind of give it up. And he had tweeted within the last 30 minutes. So I was like, yes, you did a great job there. You're still engaging with people and getting the word out. We leverage it for sermon series, and we're asking people to use hashtags, of course, in their tweets, to follow along with the sermon series, to have the conversation with folks. Of course, we're using Facebook, and we're asking people to different questions on our Facebook, and inviting others to our services online. And we're really big on serving, so we've got a lot of serving projects, especially this fall, where we're doing a lot of outreach, and particularly are focused on bringing people hope, particularly the homeless. And so we're doing a lot of projects like that. So we're actually beginning to have a lot of conversations with how we can use social media to even bring awareness to homelessness. So that's been really cool. Some conversations there. I'm excited to see what happens as a result of that. And so we're incorporating it in a number of ways like this. We're having a movie event coming up in December, a Christmas movie, where we're kind of keeping the movie a secret, and we're actually going to leverage social media to provide clues as to what the movie might be, and build some suspense around it and things like that, and create this really cool environment where people can come and watch the movie and participate. So we're doing some pretty cool things, but it's not just us. We're learning as we go. I've learned a lot having conversations with other people, and as I actually was writing this project, or this manuscript, one of the coolest things I think about the book is I interviewed a number of people, and so I highlight in the book, actually in one of the last chapters, 20 different examples, 20 different stories of churches and church leaders around the world who have used the book, have used social media, are leveraging it in pretty unique ways, and things that actually, caught my eye or taught me something about social media. And so I put that in there to further inspire folks who really just need, sometimes we just need some ideas to get us going, and to see how this is all fleshed out. And so that's really one of my favorite chapters in the book that I wrote. When I say that, I always think that's so shameless, but so I think that's a cool chapter where people are going to learn, how to use it.
Oh, that's so good to hear. Real life examples of churches
Yeah.
using social media and what's happened because they've used it. Now, there's part of social media where you're just scattering seeds, so throwing content out there through blog and Facebook and tweets. What's one or two of the strategic things that you do as a church, and how do you measure effectiveness? Because one of the things is church leaders wonder about is they don't feel like it's really engaging people, or they don't get enough feedback. So what are the one or two things that you do, like how often do you blog, or how often do you tweet, and how do you know that you're being effective?
Great question. I would say, I would say it's probably real easy, even in this discussion, to think, that it's all about external. It's all about outreach. It's all about, going beyond and that really is a big push in the book. That really is, a big part of my heart is connecting with people who aren't connected. But I would say one thing that we have enjoyed at our church, we create a lot of groups, even on like Facebook. You can create secret groups, you can create discussion groups, things like that, open, closed, private, whatever. And that's been really great for community. within our church, to be able to have these places where we can gather, and for prayer, for healing, for things like that. So we have a lot of that kind of goes on even behind the scenes on social media that I would say is really effective. And it's
that's a good point, because so much of social media is positioned as public, and you actually have found it very effective also for these private groups, prayer groups, I guess small groups, leadership groups.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Great.
Yeah. So we, that's one thing that we've done. In fact, I went to a leader in our church Sunday, and I said, because they're starting a new ministry, and I said, hey, here's something that you need to consider for your people that are helping you lead. This is create a place for them to come together, in a community, and be able to help each other privately, and that's really great. That's been a really great thing. That's one that stands out to me as really effective. Another is kind of doing things in the moment, and creating a buzz when there's conversations happening. I guess kind of real life kind of streaming kind of thing where folks are something maybe unique happens in a service, or kind of on the fly. We'll quickly put the word out and get a buzz going about that, and people really start to react to that, and are able to connect with what's happening in the moment, and to be able to see the conversations that even happen after that have been really cool. I would say that's something very strategic that we've done, because it's real easy. You kind of mentioned once or blogging once a week or what have you, but I think being consistent is important, but it's also I guess kind of being on your game, and knowing this is a moment that we need to capture, this is a moment that we need to share, this is a moment that we need to ask the right question, this is a moment that and being able to do that in that moment is really key.
Good. Well, take a minute to describe the context of your church. How large is it? What kind of demographics? Where are you located? And what is your role?
Okay. I'm in Yorktown, Virginia, at a church called Crossroads. And I would say our church is kind of a medium-sized church. We have a few hundred folks that attend our church. And we have a great community of people here. A lot of the military is very transient in our area. So that's been actually one really cool thing, I guess I would say, in using social media, is that folks come in, they leave out, we say goodbye to them because they're being deployed, and we're able to connect with a number of people all over the world because they're sent out, and so that's been really cool. And my role has not only been media within the church, but it's also been youth. I work with teenagers at our church, and I've been a youth worker for now close to 18 years, and that's been really cool. So we've had a lot of fun, and I serve in those capacities at our church.
Good. So as a youth leader, how do you see them using social media in some different ways than us as adults?
I'm sorry?
How do the youth use social media in a way that might be different than us as adults?
Well, I would say that they're learning just like adults learn. They use it in some of the same ways. I've tried to really teach them and also model for them the power in social media, and how they can really leverage it to reach people for the kingdom, to spread the gospel, to share the good news, to encourage people. And so I would say one thing that's probably unique for us, and I'm sure there's other folks doing it out there, is we really encourage our students to post scriptures, to ask people to message them if they want to, if they have prayer concerns, if they need to talk, or and really equip them. I'm really big on equipping students to do the work of the ministry, to have a student-led ministry, and that's what we have. And so I see my role as a not just youth pastor, do it all minister, but really a coach to come alongside the students and equip them to do the work of the ministry. So I would say I'm very proud of our students for that very reason, and say that's probably one thing that I would say is best about our students at our church, is that they leverage their own Facebooks, their own Twitter platform for that work, to connect with people who aren't connected, and to minister in that way.
Well, Terrace, thank you so much for chatting with me on the Social Media Church podcast. Good luck on your new
Thanks for having me.
And the doors that it will open for you, and we'll stay connected online on social media.
Thanks so much, DJ.
Thank you.